Hey, I'm Nick.
And I'm Makaila.
Welcome to Second Draft Family, a podcast where two millennials talk about raising their blended family while trying not to fuck up their kids in the process. Hey, everyone. Welcome to this week's episode of Second Draft Family. Now with 100% more Roman Reigns references. Our tribal chief is not here today, but acknowledge him.
Yeah, he's busy or something.
It's only WrestleMania season. One of the times he shows up to work.
And that's the only reason he's not here. No,
This week, we're going to be talking about prioritizing our marriage amidst our gaggle of children and blended family situation, which on paper sounds like it'd be obvious or easy to do, but in practice, it's not.
definitely not.
Sorry, I felt like I was dominating the conversation.
I mean, you were, but then again, I didn't really have anything to add. So
Okay.
it's like,
Well,
yup.
I guess like maybe we should start with how we got to that realization that we weren't doing this.
Yeah. Just because, like, obviously, we've been together now for almost 8 years, and we've spent almost four of those married. So,
We got married in 2022, in the summer, and later towards the end of the year, we things happened just within the household that was putting a strain on our relationship.
yeah, kind of, it was really, we had gotten married, and I think like 2 or 3 months later, I was sort of just, what the hell did I do? Like I was sort of over it. Like I didn't want to do it anymore. And that was like what's not being necessarily married to you. It was just with being a step parent. I was basically at that point like 1 foot out the door. And so then we were like, okay, well, we obviously don't want that. So let's try marriage counseling.
Yeah, and we found a really great counselor.
Yeah, no, fantastic. And I think like even thinking about it, that really was like the most like it was the first step, but it was also like the most essential step in prioritizing our marriage because like I had always even in like my first marriage, I had always wanted to do marriage counseling. It was something that was like absolutely not. We are not doing that. Like that is
Right.
not a thing. So that being presented and being presented by you, not me having to be like, I think we should do this, that was, I think, really, that was the first step in prioritizing our marriage. Like, really, this is my second marriage, and over 60% of second marriages end in divorce. So we already had that working against us, and at that point, we had been married for like 2 months. So it was like, well, this was a really short marriage. So it was really like what can we do? Like either this is it or there has to be some sort of like resolve. And so rather than being a statistic, we settled on counseling because what did we have to lose at that point?
Right. Yeah, and it was really helpful, and she explained too that, the point of a marriage counselor is not to make sure that a couple stays together. It's to navigate them to the best the sometimes the best outcome is splitting up, but they can be a mediator and help everyone come to whatever point is best for them. And the important thing is, as we found out as we began that, I don't know if I want to say journey, but whatever, that that course, I don't know,
That
was
adventure? No.
that just seems really cringe to call it an adventure. But we didn't want our marriage to be over, and that was an important, that's an important thing. And she talked about, then that you need to prioritize that with each other, and be a team, and help us fix.
Like help fix the things that we had control over.
Yeah, because there were some things we couldn't control or couldn't change, just within the blending of the family and the kids and stuff. So it became one of those like, well, what can we? And that's that was an ongoing up and down journey, and it's not like it ever stops. There was a period of time where even though we were living in the same house, we lived separately. Like we switched all the rooms around, and I slept in a separate room.
Yeah, and that I think was sort of like a turning point for us, which was, that like we are very committed to being married. And at that point, it was like, if this is what we both want, then we have to like put in the work. Like, this is
Yeah,
not just going to be like, we're in love and we're going to stay together because we love each other. Like, that sounds great in a movie, but that's not the reality. And I know someone out there could listen and be like, my marriage isn't hard because I actually love my husband. Well, first of all, fuck you. Second of all, I guarantee you that things are not all roses over there either. Okay. So, jot that
yeah.
down.
Well, and it's not like these decisions were made willy nilly either. This was not like a minor inconvenience drove us to this.
Right.
Um, But, well, I mean, so we've said prioritizing our marriage a few times. What does that look like? What sort of instructions and exercises and, steps did we take to do that? Because you can't just say it.
Yes.
It's it's work you put in. And some of that's, is very basic things that I'm sure people have seen in movies and might even roll their eyes at, like using I feel statements, which I don't know why people make fun of that. It actually is very helpful if you
Yeah.
do it. If you do it properly, it's very fun to like make fun of it.
He says, if you're not married to an Aries, it is incredibly. We would start out with the I statements and they would quickly turn into the, yeah, well, you said.
You said it, not me.
Yeah, no.
But other ways that we're told to work on always having each other's back and feeling that connection is to be a united front with the kids, not to see them or not to let them see us disagreeing or fighting over the parenting styles or discipline choices and stuff. Even if we needed to discuss it later,
Yes.
we needed to be a united front. We needed to be a team so that they knew they couldn't drive a wedge in there.
Right, because that was something that we were kind of finding was that we were still sort of like, well, these are my kids and I'm super protective of them. So, like, if you do something I don't like, fuck you. So the kids see that and they're like, well, wait a second. And not to say that, like, they're malicious, but they are children and they're like,
It's a way to
now,
get away with something.
yeah, like, how can I use this to, like,
Right.
get something? And yeah, they would occasionally do that. And I think that was something that we noticed too, was like Tuna would go to you for certain things because they knew that like I was going to not necessarily agree with them or like, vice versa. Like you would say something to Glasses and then I would be like, well, that's not fair. And Glasses would be like, Mom always folds. So like, I've got dad over here, like he'll be the firm one, but like if I can get to mom.
Right. And that's still we've gotten so much better about it, but even now there's times where Yorkie will come and be like, "Is mom home?" And if I'm like, "Oh, no, what is it?" They'll be like, "Oh, never mind." I'll be like, "No, what is it?" And that's not even that's it's become less of a not being a united front, but just being like dad's a little grumpier.
Right. Yeah, it still happens occasionally. Like we're not perfect. We're still learning that. I think I have for me personally, and I acknowledge it, like I am hugely protective of my kids. And part of that is because they have been hurt so much in their lives. And part of that is because, like, I have been responsible for some of that hurt in their life. And so it's like, it is really hard for me to let go of control. And that seriously impacted our marriage because I would take the most, like, minute thing and treat it like you had punched my kid in the face. Like you told them to go to their room, and I'm like, let me tell you something.
Right, and that's frustrating, and that breeds resentment because then in turn, I would feel like I didn't have control in my own house, and becomes almost cyclical, and it's gotten a lot better because it used to be if you and Tuna argued, Tuna would come to me and complain about you, and I shut that down, not long after we started. It's like, "No, you don't get to complain about my wife to me." She's right. Like, I don't wanna fucking hear it.
Yeah.
And it was the one boundary, like, I always encourage Tuna, like, "Look, if you're upset about something, you wanna complain about a decision we've made, that's fine, but you can't just come to me and trash talk my partner. That's not how it's gonna work. That's still the adult in the household, even if it's not your biological mother, like, that's still an adult you have to treat with respect." And in the same way, um like, if any of your kids were told no about something, you would uphold that and be like, "No, you were told no, and we might discuss it later so that, in the future, maybe it'd be different." But,
Yeah.
it wasn't the sort of thing where it's less people trying to get around you, and most of the time, they know now what is yes and no anyway.
Yeah. And I think like that's something I had to like really work on. It's something I'm still working on is that like not my immediate gut reaction of I am going to defend my kid because you are wrong and you need to know that you're wrong. And it takes a lot for me to like, okay, I am going to not necessarily agree with you, but back you up. And then in private say, like, hey, I don't appreciate the way you handled this. Can you please apologize later because I backed you up? And if I if I change my mind, then we like get back to the same like cycle of not looking like a united front. So it's like that thing of being like, hey, can you apologize?
Right.
Yeah. Not to me, to the kids, but, like, I feel like those moments are more rare. But also, too, not even being a united front is like, and this is gonna seem like such a no-brainer, excuse me, is date nights
Yeah.
because we weren't doing them. And I know that that is oftentimes like you weren't dating your spouse. I think it really needs to be stressed that we quite literally were thrown like we had our kids thrown at us all at the same time. Like we went from having
Right.
like these very shared custody agreements to having the kids all of the time, never not seeing them. And it was like, yeah, when are we supposed to go out on a date? We don't have childcare. Our kids are not at the age where they can really be left alone.
Right.
So, like, what would you suggest we do to have a date night? And that was where we sort of started these, like, at home date nights. And that basically for us was like, hey, kids, we're going to kick you out of the room for a little bit, and we're going to order ourselves dessert, and we are going to bond just ourselves. Like, you guys can go be in your rooms for a little bit. So,
Right. It'd be like once a week, once every other week. You go, we'll set you up with a TV, go watch a movie, go play whatever. But the living room's off limits, and they're usually pretty good about that. Barring an emergency or something or a fight, which isn't an emergency, but like someone feels the need to tell us. And it was nice because it gave us a chance to just, watch a movie that we wanted to watch that the kids didn't want to watch, or like play Mario Kart together or Mario Party or what any number of things. So those being probably the most common ones.
yeah, and like we occasionally get like really serious about them and have these like deep conversations about like things that need to be discussed or like, hey, like I read something really interesting. Like those for a while there when we were in counseling, it was trying to figure out how to like be on the same page about parenting because we were still blending our family at that point.
Yeah. Especially considering all the custody and stuff that had
Yeah,
changed and kept changing.
correct.
Well, at least on me and Tuna's end.
Yes, but now, like, glasses is older and we can now occasionally get out of the house. And that is nice.
Yeah, Tuna doesn't have the personality to babysit, unfortunately.
No, that is not like a slight on Tuna. I think Tuna would probably agree.
Right. Tuna would rather either be left alone or sometimes is the ringleader for trouble.
Yeah, Tuna's gonna turn the house into Lord of the Flies.
Right. So, but when Tuna is over at their mom's house or, sometimes goes and stays with my parents for because they like to do stuff with them, we can convince glasses to babysit and we'll go see a movie, go get Texas Roadhouse and eat the cinnamon butter, fill up on bread.
Yeah. And of course, as we have said, like we're still working through prioritizing our marriage. I don't think that's necessarily something that people stop struggling with. Or maybe it changes into different sort of prioritizing. Like I can't imagine that empty nesters out there. Like I'm sure that's where it's like, okay, we can prioritize our marriage because it's literally just us. And
Right.
hopefully you still like each other. And that's like the big now we can focus on just ourselves and still worry about our children, still take care of our children in some capacity, but like now we can really focus on it. But like if you are raising children, and I think especially for being a blended family, like that is not easy. And it's something that takes like I think like more than one. It's not like a one and done. Like we figured it out.
Yeah, no, it's an ongoing thing, and you're right. It's not, specific to blended families. I think maybe that adds some nuance or struggle to it, like you said. But I think it's really easy to get so burnt out from the struggle of raising kids and working and then coming home and having to put on the parent hat, which is not a relaxation hat most of
No,
the
it's not a
time.
sexy hat.
No, and then when you're finally able to relax, you kinda just wanna do something by yourself, and you're not giving your partner that energy and focus, and that's where I think people fall into that, where then suddenly the kid's grown up and they leave, and it's like, "Well, who are you again?" Like,
Right.
we haven't really talked in, like, 18 years. I
Yeah.
forget what your hobbies are or something like that. But it's I mean, it's definitely difficult. I mean, it's definitely worth doing, but some of it can be hard to do sometimes. Like I know you said this is your second marriage. It's my first marriage.
Right.
Hopefully the only one.
Yeah.
But
Hopefully.
like I know there are times where I'm more prone to being impatient. I'm more prone to being defensive, so I might snap at the kids and then we will disagree in front of them or the united front doesn't always work.
No, and like to be fair, I don't think a lot of that is even necessarily on you. Like my first husband did quite a fucking doozy on me. And so I feel like that has amplified my fight or flight and sometimes, and this is probably why that statistic of second marriages ending in divorce is so high, is because when there are difficult moments, I am sometimes at the point where I'm like, I could just leave. Like I can just fucking leave. I don't have to be here. I can go.
You do that, and it sometimes does make me nervous to bring up, like, "Hey, I don't like that you did this," or "I'm frustrated about this happening," and that's sometimes your first response. It's like, there are other options. I don't like that that's your answer to me being upset about something. Like, can we scale
Yes.
it back a little bit? And I know it's something you try not to do, but that can create issue, like, not saying you specifically, just
You can
anyone.
say that. No, I am fully aware of it, but I do think that and this is probably too not us specific, or at least I hope not us specific. A lot of people stay in their first marriage when like they really shouldn't a lot longer because divorce is terrifying.
Sure.
Like it's not something you rush into, it's not something you take lightly. It is terrifying. However, I think like once you've done it, it's not as scary because you came out the other end and realistically like probably better or at least better than you were in that marriage. And so when things get to a certain point again, like, I've done this once. I could just do it again. And I'm not saying like it was that light for me. Like I know that's what I'm saying. Like I could just leave. It's not like it's that easy, but it's like there I think are a certain threshold for things that you're willing to put up for or put up for. Whoa, that's a different conversation. But I think I had to really decide like are these things that are like things that I should be walking away for? Or do I need to stop being so fucking stubborn and like actually deal with it?
Right.
And so that's what I decided. Like, I like you.
Yeah, no, I'm glad.
You don't sound very glad. No.
Well, no, because all I was gonna say is that when the response to your problems or your issues is I can just leave, you just it's like touching a hot stove. It's like, oh, I guess I can't talk about my problems because your response is to leave. And that's just going to make you resentful. Or, if it's like, well, I'm trying to bring up why I'm upset and then you're upset and then I have to comfort you. It's like, well, I'm the one with the problem. Why am I comforting you? And I'm not like that's a general thing. There have been times before where that's happened, but you've gotten a lot better about that.
No, yes, and that was something that I like had to work on in therapy, my dear. So, not even like couples counseling, like my own personal therapy of like, he is not my ex-husband. He is not my ex-husband. I have to stop treating him like he is my ex-husband.
Right. It's like, you should try to believe the best in a lot of people and give people the benefit of the doubt in general, but especially the person who's supposed to be your teammate,
Yes.
but
Yes. No.
it's
That was a lot of like his problems are his problems. They're not about you. He doesn't hate you. He still wants to be married to you.
right. Yeah, and that's another important thing that the marriage counselor said is that we should also have our own individual counts
Yeah.
because there's probably individual stuff too. Which there is. But yeah, that I think that's a good stopping point for
Nick's
this
like,
week.
I'm done talking about this now.
Better stop before I get in trouble.
You make me sound awful.
I do
People probably
not.
think I like fucking beat you or that you're like, I had a really bad day at work and I'm like, yeah, well fuck off. I don't care.
That's how you prioritize the marriage by punching me into submission. The beatings will continue until morale improves. No, no, it's not that. Join us next week. We're going to be talking about how like parenting has changed from the generation that raised us to how how what we do different versus how we think it'll be for our kids if they decide to procreate or adopt or anything like that. There's probably other options, but I feel like those are the two most common ones. All right, join us next time.
Well, that was something. If you liked what you heard, please tell your friends and follow our social media. We're at Second Draft Family on TikTok, Insta, and Facebook, and at Second Draft Fam Pod on Blue Sky. See you next time. Bye.